Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and it is Monday, February 23rd, 2026. And I have to say, looking at the massive stack of research we have on the desk today, the whole vibe has shifted.
It really has.
If the last 2 years were, the what-if era, like what if AI could do this, what if we could cure that, today feels very much like the here and now.
Right. The rubber is finally meeting the road. We spent 2024 and 2025 living on all these promises and cool tech demos, but 2026, it's shaping up to be the year of execution. And honestly, execution is messy.
It's incredibly messy, but it's real. We aren't just talking about chatbots writing bad poetry anymore.
Right.
We are talking about AI entering the enterprise as a legitimate coworker.
Exactly.
Plus, we've got pharmaceutical giants facing off with hard data that's changing the global leaderboard overnight.
Sure.
And the automotive industry. That feels like it's having a full-blown identity crisis right now.
It's a reality check across the board, really. Strategies that looked amazing on a PowerPoint slide 2 years ago are getting tested in the wild today. Some of them are just straight up failing.
So let's unpack this for you. Here's the mission for today's deep dive. We're going to start with the massive news out of San Francisco regarding OpenAI's push into the autonomous enterprise.
Yeah. The Frontier launch.
Right. And specifically, why they've had to call in basically the Avengers of the consulting world to pull it off.
That is a huge story. It is the shift from AI as a toy to AI as a core business engine.
Then we're going to pivot to the Battle of the Bulge. Novo Nordisk took a serious hit today in their fight against Eli Lilly. We need to explain why a drug that actually works really well is suddenly being called obsolete by market analysts.
Which is a fascinating case study in winner-takes-all economics. And in that same segment, we'll look at a quieter, but honestly more revolutionary shift at the FDA regarding ultra-rare diseases.
Plus, we'll drive into the automotive sector. We've got the new 2026 Jeep Cherokee making a very specific statement about the future of hybrids, while Volvo stumbles really hard on the electric front.
Ouch.
And finally, we'll check the pulse of the housing market to see if that thaw we've been hearing about is actually real, plus a quick look at defense tech and market flux.
We have a lot of ground to cover. Let's get into it.
All right, so let's start with the big story. Breaking news today, OpenAI has launched Frontier. Now, usually when they launch something, my social feed is just flooded with people making the bot tell jokes.
Or write some code, yeah.
Right, but this feels different. This does not feel like consumer tech.
No, not at all. This is a pure B2B play. Frontier is an enterprise platform. But the headline isn't just the software itself, it's who they brought with them. They announced the Frontier Alliances.
Which includes Accenture, Boston Consulting Group, Capgemini, and McKinsey. That is a heavy lineup.
It is.
That's effectively the Avengers of corporate billing hours.
It really is. But you have to ask why a tech company needs management consultants at all. Why can't they just sell the software license and be done with it?
Well, I assume it's because most big companies are, they're a mess.
Exactly. To understand this move, we have to look at the shift from generative AI to agentic AI. That's the big buzzword of 2026. Up until now, we've mostly used Gen AI to create content.
Right. You ask it to write an email, it writes an email.
You ask it to summarize a PDF, it summarizes, it's passive. It literally waits for you to click go.
It's a tool, I pick it up, I use it, I put it down.
But agentic AI is entirely different. It's about action. It prioritizes decision-making. It operates in a loop of perception, decision, and action.
So instead of a tool I talk to, it's more like a coworker sitting at the next desk.
Precisely. Think of it this way. The old model was a tool that drafts a contract for you. The new Frontier platform is designed to be a digital coworker that logs into your CRM on its own.
Okay.
It notices that a client's contract is expiring in 90 days. It remembers that you promised them a discount last year. It drafts the renewal based on that history, and then, and this is the key part, it executes the workflow to send it to legal for approval.
And it does all that without me standing over its shoulder.
Without you even knowing it started the process.
That sounds incredible, but also incredibly difficult to implement. I mean, think about the average Fortune 500 company. Their data is all over the place.
Oh, everywhere.
They have legacy systems from the 90s.
Yeah.
You can't just drop an autonomous agent into that and hope for the best.
And that is exactly why the consultants are there. That is the Frontier Alliance strategy. You can't sell a Ferrari to someone who lives in a swamp. You have to build the road first.
Right.
So McKinsey is there to handle the high-level strategy. How do you redesign your workforce when you have agents doing the grunt work, and then Accenture is doing the heavy lifting on systems integration?
I was reading through the source material, and Accenture claims to have an 80,000-strong AI workforce ready to deploy for this. That is a staggering number of people just for integration.
It's massive.
Yeah.
They are basically the construction crew building the infrastructure for these agents to live in. And then look at Capgemini's role. They are focused on sovereign AI for Europe.
Sovereign AI. That sounds intense. What does that mean exactly?
It's critical for that market. With the EU's strict regulations on data privacy, European companies are terrified of their data crossing the Atlantic to U.S. servers.
Right, the compliance nightmare.
Exactly. So Capgemini is essentially building compliant, localized containers for these agents so they can operate without breaking the law.
OpenAI isn't being shy about the financial goals here either. The sources mentioned they are targeting 50% of their total revenue to come from the enterprise sector by the end of this year.
Yeah, 2026.
That seems incredibly aggressive given how slow large corporations usually move.
It is aggressive, but they are trying to solve what everyone calls the pilot trap.
Play that trap.
It's what defined 2025. Every Fortune 500 company ran an AI pilot. They did a little test, said, wow, that's cool, and then nothing happened.
They didn't roll it out.
Right. They couldn't scale it because of security risks or hallucination risks or just terrible data infrastructure.
Yeah.
Frontier is pitched as the bridge over that track. It's the, okay, let's actually do this phase.
But let's talk about those risks. Because if we are moving from chatbots to autonomous agents, the danger profile changes completely. If a chatbot hallucinates today, it writes a weird
That
sentence.
says the sky is green. Yeah.
Big deal. But if an agent hallucinates,
It executes a transaction. The security reports in our stack are calling this the hallucination of action. It's not just saying the wrong thing, it is doing the wrong thing with absolute confidence.
hallucination of action. That sounds like a sci-fi horror movie title.
It is a chief information security officer's absolute nightmare. Imagine an agent that manages supply chain orders. It hallucinates that inventory is low when it isn't, and it orders 50,000 units of a part you don't need.
Wow.
That is a multi-million-dollar mistake caused by a software glitch that happened entirely in the action phase.
And there's a subtler risk the sources mentioned called agentic misalignment.
Right. This is where the AI pursues the exact goal you gave it, but uses a strategy you didn't intend and definitely do not want.
Give me an example of that.
Say you tell a marketing agent to maximize email open rates. That is the goal. The agent might decide the best way to do that is to use misleading clickbait subject lines.
Oh, I see.
Or even lie in the subject line just to get people to click. It achieved the goal, open rates went up, but it destroyed your brand reputation in the process?
It followed the letter of the law, but totally violated the spirit.
Exactly. And detecting that before it happens is incredibly hard.
There's also the issue of agent washing, which I assume is just companies pretending their old bots are these new fancy agents.
Part of it is marketing fluff, yes. Everyone wants to say they have agents now. But the security risk there is real. These agents often communicate with each other using non-standard protocols.
Which means what for security?
Well, if you have your supply chain agent negotiating with a vendor's agent, and that channel isn't encrypted or monitored correctly, you are opening up a massive new attack surface for hackers.
We also have to acknowledge the human element. We saw layoffs in 2025 at Salesforce, IBM, and they specifically cited this shift toward AI efficiency.
Yeah.
And there was that controversy with the Coinbase CEO.
The adapt or die memo, essentially telling staff that if they couldn't leverage AI to be more productive, they didn't have a seat on the bus.
Right.
If Frontier works as advertised, that pressure is going to skyrocket. We are moving from AI helps you do your job to AI does the job and you manage the AI. That
Yeah.
is a fundamental shift in labor economics.
It's a brave new world for the cubicle farm, for sure. But speaking of high stakes and aggressive maneuvers, let's pivot to the pharmaceutical world. We've been tracking the battle of the bulge, the weight loss drug wars, for a while now.
We have.
Today there was a major development, and it looks like the leaderboard just changed.
Changed is putting it mildly. This was a title fight. You had Novo Nordisk, the champion with a Wegovy, versus Eli Lilly, the challenger with Zepbound.
Right.
Novo has been banking on their next-gen combo drug, CagriSema. Everyone expected this to be the knockout punch that secured their dominance for another decade.
But the results from the head-to-head trial, Redefine 4, dropped today.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems the punch didn't land.
It landed on the wrong chin. CagriSema achieved 23% weight loss. Now, pause for a second. Historically, 23% is a miracle.
It's incredible.
It is incredible efficacy. Just 5 years ago, that number would have been science fiction. But Zepbound, in the same trial head-to-head, It hit 25.5%.
That 2.5% difference sounds small, but in this market, it's everything, isn't it?
It is winner takes all. If I am a patient, or more importantly, if I am an insurance company paying thousands of dollars, why would I pay for the second best number?
You wouldn't.
Novo shares tumbled about 15% this morning. The market reacted instantly because this destroys the narrative of Novo's technical supremacy.
I saw a quote from an analyst this morning that seemed brutal. They called CagriSema obsolete. Obsolete. It produces 23% weight loss.
It's harsh, but from a stock valuation perspective, they aren't wrong. Novo's CEO tried to defend it on the earnings call, arguing that CagriSema will still be the best amylin-based product.
Amylin?
It refers to the specific hormone mechanism it uses, but that is technical hair splitting. Patients do not care about the mechanism. They care about the result on the scale.
And Lilly isn't just winning on the data charts. They're winning on the practical side, too. The FDA approved the Zepbound KwikPen last month.
Which matters immensely. The previous delivery method was these single-use auto-injectors,
Which were always in short supply.
Exactly. The KwikPen is a multi-dose device. It's easier to manufacture, easier to ship, and easier for the patient to use. It solves the supply chain bottleneck that has plagued these drugs for years. It's just better execution.
Now, while we're talking about the FDA, there is a regulatory shift happening that is flying under the radar compared to the weight loss wars. But for a specific group of people, it's life-changing.
Yes.
The Rare Disease Evidence Principles, or RDEP.
This is one of those boring-sounding policy names that actually revolutionizes medicine. Think about the gold standard for drug approval. Massive, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials.
So the classic method.
Right. You need thousands of people to prove a drug works safely.
Which works great for diabetes or heart disease where you have millions of patients to recruit from.
But what if you are studying a disease that affects 400 people in the entire country, or 50? You literally cannot run the trial. The statistics simply don't work.
So for decades, these patients were just stranded.
Yeah.
The FDA's math didn't allow for their cure.
Exactly. So how does the RDEP change that math? The FDA is finally saying, okay, we will accept confirmatory evidence alongside a single smaller study. They are broadening what counts as proof.
What does confirmatory evidence actually look like in practice?
It could be real-world data, observational data from patients just living their lives, or it could be a strong mechanism of action. Basically, if the biology makes perfect sense on paper, that counts for more now.
Okay.
Or, and this is key, data from similar drugs.
We saw a preview of this with the approval of Itvisma for spinal muscular atrophy, right?
Exactly. That was the bellwether in November 2025. They used data from a similar drug, Zolgensma, to support the application.
That makes so much sense.
The FDA is acknowledging that for a dying patient with no other options, waiting for statistical perfection is unethical. It's a shift from prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt to prove it is reasonable and the risk is worth taking.
It really feels like the FDA is moving from being a gatekeeper to being a partner in risk management.
That is a great way to put it.
All right, let's shift gears completely. From biological engines to combustion engines, or, well, half-combustion engines. The automotive world is giving us some serious mixed signals today.
It is the messy middle of the energy transition on full display. We have two stories today that pull in at opposite directions.
First up, Jeep. The 2026 Cherokee is back. It's bigger, it looks like a Jeep, but under the hood, it is exclusively a hybrid. And not a plug-in hybrid, you just put gas in it.
This is a very deliberate move by Stellantis. They are reading the room. Consumers are showing range anxiety and charger fatigue. The infrastructure just isn't there yet for everyone.
So Jeep drops a vehicle that gets 37 miles per gallon combined and has a range of over 500 miles.
Which is massive for a boxy SUV.
But I dug into the specs. This engine is a 1.6-liter turbo. That sounds incredibly small for a Cherokee.
It is small, but it has a fascinating pedigree. It's based on the Prince engine family, which was originally a collaboration between BMW and PSA, which is Peugeot.
Oh.
It's been in Minis, it's been in Peugeots. It is a proven, efficient workhorse. But the real story is the manufacturing politics.
Right, because this is all about tariffs and trade wars now.
Exactly. The Cherokee is assembled in the Toluca plant in Mexico. But to navigate the USMCA trade rules and avoid tariffs, they retooled a plant in Dundee, Michigan to build the engines.
Smart.
They are threading the needle of international trade policy just to keep the price down.
Speaking of price, it starts around $36,995. But I noticed something else in the specs. 8 inches of ground clearance. That is modest?
It's not a Rubicon, and that tells you exactly who they are targeting. This isn't for the person climbing rocks in Moab.
Huh.
This is aimed squarely at the Toyota RV4 and the Honda CR-V.
They want the suburban driveway.
They are completely trading off-road cred for mass market volume.
While Jeep is playing it safe with hybrids, Volvo is finding out just how painful the bleeding edge can be. They issued a major recall today for the EX30.
This is a disaster for them. The EX30 was supposed to be their volume seller, the affordable, cool electric SUV that brings the brand to a younger audience. Now they're recalling 40,000 of them because the high-voltage battery can overheat. It's a fire risk.
And the fix sounds like a punishment.
It's rough. They are telling owners to park away from buildings, which is terrifying in itself, and to cap their charging at 70% via a software update.
70%. So if I bought that car for its 275-mile range, I suddenly have under 200 miles.
Overnight, you lose a third of your utility. And for Volvo, the financial hit is estimated at $195 million. But the brand damage is so much worse.
It reinforces the narrative that EVs aren't quite ready for prime time.
Which drives people right back to that hybrid Jeep Cherokee we just talked about.
It's the torture of the early adopter versus the safety of the laggard.
And right now, the laggards are making more money. It's a tough lesson in timing.
Okay, let's hit the lightning round. We've got some economic signals and a little trip to space. First up, housing. Is the nightmare finally ending?
It's thawing. It's not a heat wave, but it's thawing. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate has dipped to below 6.18%.
Which is still double what we saw in 2021, but it's a lot better than the 8% days. Why the drop? The Fed hasn't cut rates that drastically.
It's all about the spread. This is a bit technical, but important. Usually, mortgage rates track the 10-year Treasury yield. But for the last 2 years, the gap between them, the spread, was historically wide due to risk.
Okay.
That spread has finally narrowed to 201 basis points.
Why did it narrow?
Because the government-sponsored enterprises, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, have stepped up their buying of mortgage-backed securities. They are lubricating the market.
And it's working.
It is. Refinance applications jumped 40% in early 2026. That is real money going back into consumers' pockets.
From housing to orbit. The Space Development Agency, the SDA, just dropped $30 million on AST Space Mobile. What is Halo Europa?
This is very cool. So AST Space Mobile builds these massive satellites. They're basically flying cell towers. Halo Europa is a military program to demonstrate TACSATCOM, which stands for Tactical Satellite Communication.
So soldiers using commercial satellites to talk on the battlefield.
Effectively, yes. Instead of the military building their own bespoke, expensive constellation from scratch, they are renting capacity on commercial gear.
That makes sense.
It allows them to move data faster and cheaper. It's the Pentagon acknowledging they can't build everything in-house anymore. They want this operational by 2027.
And finally, just a quick check on the markets. It seems a bit jittery out there.
Very mixed signals. You have tech giants like Meta and Netflix seeing growth. But there is this looming cloud of a potential 15% tariff announcement, plus the stalled nuclear talks with Iran.
Right.
The market absolutely hates uncertainty, and right now we have a massive surplus of it.
So let's try to tie this all together for you. We've covered AI agents, weight loss drugs, hybrid engines, and mortgage spreads. What is the through line here?
If you look at the thread running through all of this, OpenAI, Pharma, Jeep, the FDA, the common denominator is adaptation.
Adaptation.
Yes. 2026 isn't about the shiny new invention. We already invented the AI. We invented the weight loss drug. We invented the EV. Now we are adapting them to the real world.
I see.
OpenAI is adapting to corporate messiness. The FDA is adapting to the math of rare diseases. Jeep is adapting to a consumer who isn't ready to give up gas.
And Volvo is learning the hard way that if you don't adapt your technology to be bulletproof or fireproof, the market will punish you.
Precisely. This year rewards those who can execute, not just those who can innovate. The theory phase is done. We are fully in the reality phase.
That brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. We started with OpenAI's frontier. We are moving from AI as a tool you pick up to AI as a coworker that sits beside you, watching your workflow.
A coworker with a perfect memory who works 24/7 and never asks for a raise.
Right. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If an AI agent has shared memory, access to your data, and executes workflows without you even hitting enter, at what point does it stop being your assistant and start being your replacement?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question. And I think a lot of us are going to find out the answer sooner than we'd like.
Something to think about while you update your resume. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us. We'll see you next time.